and happy Tuesday. My name is Wendy Lee, and I'm an independent demonstrator in the US and excited, yay, that you're here joining me in my Creatively Yours studio for a little bit of paper crafting fun today. So, what are we making? All right, so first, I should tell you, and I don't know if you guys read last week's blog post from the Facebook Live we did. So last week we made a little gift set with holiday tags in it. And I have to admit, I love making tags. I love getting gifts with beautiful tags on them, but I'm terrible to use a Sharpie and write directly on my packages. Are you guys in the same boat? Or do you take the time and make gorgeous tags that people will love? Yes, that's what we should be doing. Yes. Okay, so today I've got a gorgeous holiday tag. So this was actually the tag I put in as a little gift to some of my recent class attendees. So anytime somebody orders a class from me, I like to put a little surprise in there. Sometimes it's a card, sometimes it's a tag, and sometimes I change it up and do some different things. So I just recently had one that this adorable little tag was in. So I'm going to show you guys how to make this today. It's lots of fun. I love all the variation in ribbon, and it's pretty easy to do. So you ready to get crafty? All right, I'm going to switch the camera over and make sure we are in the right place, right? All right. Let me go ahead and fix this setting. Hopefully it'll make that a little clearer. Yes. Okay, good deal. Hey, Lisa, glad you're here this morning. And Susan and Jean. Oh, so glad to see you guys jumping in. Hopefully you like this project today. So we are going to feature the Heartwarming Hugs Designer Series paper. I love this because I like all the great colors combinations that we've got going on. And I think that this could be used for so much more than just a holiday paper. But we're going to use this little red and white print there out of this package of paper. This is one that is on the last chance list and will be retiring at the end of this mini catalog. So while supplies last, of course. So if you love this, stock up on this. And then I'm also pulling in the Whimsical Trees stamp set and coordinating dies, and we'll talk about those in a moment. So this is also, sadly, a bundle that will be retiring, so available while supplies last. Hey, Kay, so glad that you're here. Yay, 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 so glad. Okay, so here's what we're making again is this super cute tag. So yes, so you guys have to tell me, are you good about putting beautiful tags on your gifts? And this one's really actually pretty simple to make. So I'll show you how to do it. I think the lolly just gives it the extra punch. And then I really like the two different colored tags. This little cherry cobbler behind the real red gives it a little bit of a punch there as well. And the ribbons. I just love the ribbons. So, all right, let's get started on this. So first thing I want to do is I pulled in my TaylorMade tag dies. Love these, love, love, love these. And they have two different shapes at the top and they cut the holes, which I also love. So I used the largest one here and I cut one out of real red and one out of cherry cobbler. Now, if you don't own these dies yet, I need to let you know that these are not currently available to order. They're on back order and it looks like through January. So no worries, if you don't have these, if you've got a tag topper punch you can use, that's great. You can even just cut a rectangle and angle cut the corners if you'd like and punch a hole in the top. So what I love about these is that it's got that lovely stitched detail, and I find that I use these quite often. So yes. So Kay, you just stick a tag on the back of your presents. Hey, that's not bad. That's better than what I have been doing. I literally take out a black Sharpie and write on the wrapping paper. Terrible, right? Especially since I know I can make beautiful tags. I know sometimes we just don't think about it. My husband mentioned to me last night, we were sitting at dinner and I got a new planner that I'm trying out this year. And when I ordered it, I thought I ordered it with tabs for the month. It didn't come with tabs for each month, and it's been driving me nuts. So he's like, Wendy, you can make tabs. Don't you have all those punches? And I was like, oh my goodness, I do. So this morning, first thing I did was make myself some tabs for my months and my planner, and I'm all good now. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and secure these together because I want it to be fanned out and I want it to stay that way. So I'm just going to put a little bit, well, I say I'm gonna. Did I grab an empty one? No. Come on. Ah, there we go. There we go. Just going to put a little bit of Stampin' Seal to kind of hold this in place for me. And then I definitely want that to stay fanned out like that so that you see that darker red peeking out from behind. Make sure I didn't mess it up in the back and make it all sticky. Okay, cute, right? Already, it's already adorable. Let's see, Susan, with kids, we just use paper to wrap gifts and write each name in big letters so they can read names and pass out gifts. Yeah, I think that's where my Sharpie came in to play originally, was letting the kids do it. So maybe we could make oversized tags, right? That would be fun. Okay, so I am pulling in 3 different ribbons because I thought this was kind of fun. So I've got some of the Real Red Sheer ribbon, the Cherry Cobbler. Oh, this is also on the retiring list, and the Cherry Cobbler in gold ribbon, also on the retiring list. And then this cute little stitched red ribbon that came out of the Pets ribbon combo. So I'm just going to stack them on top of each other. And since I already have a hole punch, this is great. And I'm going to kind of fold this over and see if I can get an edge of all 3 of these in here at the same time. Yay, that worked. It frays the end a little bit on this Cherry Cobbler ribbon because it ravels out super easy, which might be another fun thing to do. You could just pull out those fibers. But isn't that kind of cool having all these little ribbon hairs sticking up like that? So let me flip that upside down. And then I'm pulling in this gold cord from the Simply Elegant trim. So let's say about 10 inches or so, I'm guessing. You could do a little longer, you could do a little shorter. I'm going to go ahead and clip this off just because of what I'm doing here. I want to be able to make sure that you guys can see it and I don't get this spool in my way. So I'm flipping this down. So I tie my bows upside down for the most part, because they tend to be upside down if I tie them right side up. Now watch, as soon as I do that, this is going to be upside down, and I should have done it the other way. Who knows? We'll find out. Cord has got a mind of its own. There we go. Get my knot in there first. So that will hold, and then I can do my loops. So yeah, so cord has a little bit of a mind of its own, and it's going to do whatever it wants to do, as what I found. And I just let that go. It's fine. I'm not going to let it stress me out. But okay, so I wanted these ends to go up, and it worked out. Sometimes it works out for me and sometimes it doesn't. So that actually ended up upside down of the direction I had it, but I wanted it to end up that way because I wanted those cords to go up on this one. Cute, right? So it would be awesome just like this. You could write somebody's name on it and be done. Big bold letters. That way Susan, the kids could read them, and that would jazz up your packages. But we're going to take it a step further. I'm going to bring in my Simply Scored so you guys can see this. So let's move these out of the way. Hopefully you can see these. And I have got I think it's 1 1/4. Yep, double checking. 1 1/4 by 12-inch piece of the designer stage paper. So you can get a whole bunch of these out of a pack. And I am going to score it at every 1/4 of an inch. So if you were going to make a bunch of these, I would actually score the full sheet of paper. And then I would cut my strips from there because it's so much easier or faster. Not that it's difficult, but it's faster if you can do the whole sheet at once if you're going to do multiples. But I'm just making one today. So this will take a moment because literally every 1/4 of an inch. So it's skipping every other line on your Simply Scored if you're unsure what a 1/4 of an inch looks like. Dun, dun. Okay, we're getting there, halfway, a few more. Okay. And 8 1/2. I don't want to go too fast because if I go too fast, I get confused. And I don't have enough markers to mark every quarter of an inch. Plus, I think that would get a little bit crazy, right? So you guys all ready for the holidays? You got all your shopping done? Hello, Barbara. So glad you jumped in. Which end of the tool do you use and why? Oh, Susan, you asked the best questions. I love it. So it depends on what I'm doing. So on the tool, you've got the larger ball and you've got the smaller ball. So at opposite ends. And then in case you guys didn't know, your Take Your Pick tool has an attachment that also has the scoring head on it. And it also has a large ball and a small ball on it. So it depends on what I'm doing. So on designer paper, most of the time I use the larger ball. And the reason I do that is because you don't want to put as much pressure on designer paper because it's easy to actually cut through the paper if you put too much pressure when you score. So this is why sometimes I will use the larger ball on it. I like to use the smaller ball on cardstock. However, I will tell you that if I'm having trouble with my scoring, or if I, like sometimes I can't stay in the line, like I jump off and all that fun stuff. And anyway, if I'm having any trouble with the small ball, I will switch to the bigger ball on cardstock as well, because I like to use it interchangeably. But it just, I feel like the small end gives a finer channel, I guess you would say, when you're dealing with cardstock. So I don't know if that helps or not. Now, as I said that, I actually use the small end for this. And the reason being is because these are so close together. And we're going to fan fold this. But I did not want a wide line. So that is why I use the small one on this, because I'm just going to fan fold this back and forth along each of these score lines. Now, I'm not going to be too stressed out if I'm not perfect. I'm not going to be stressed out if, my fan's starting to fold out a little bit. That's okay. It doesn't have to be 100% straight on top of itself. And I'm just kind of squeezing every few folds to make sure I'm getting a good crease. If I was doing a large one of these, it's actually a little easier to do a larger one because you can run your bone folder and get nice crisp edges. This is a little more difficult to run your bone folder on because it is so little. So really, I found the squeezing of this, just squeezing it every few is plenty. And if it gets too thick, you can always let that go and then just keep folding in the lower half of it, right? Whatever works for your hands, right? Because you're dealing with small things. I've got a little arthritis going on. So sometimes I choose which end I'm going to use on the tool based on how my hands feel that day, right? Some days are good days and some days are not so good days when it comes to the hands with the arthritis there. So I hope I answered you. It's kind of like whatever your mood is, whatever you're trying to do. Okay, let's see if I can squish this all back together. And give that a good push. That's how I'm folding it with my bone folder, my pseudo bone folder. So hopefully you can see that. It's just creating an accordion with it. So we move this out of the way. So Susan, I would try both ends and see what you prefer. And again, like I said, sometimes I prefer one thing on designer paper versus cardstock. Hey, Carmen, so glad you're here today as well. All right, next, I'm going to bring in my silicone craft sheet. And I am going to flatten this end right here for a minute. Let's bring in our tear and tape. And I think I totally missed this on the supply list. So I'll have to go back and add this as well to our supply list. And I'm just going to cut off small tabs here. And I'm going to cover the two of the ends, I guess you could say. You could use your Stampin' Seal on this as well. Either one will work. I just wanted something with a little extra gusto here for a demonstration. I should run my bone folder on that. It's so much easier to get the backing paper off the tear and tape if you run your bone folder on it first, because it's pressure sensitive, right? Yay. Okay, so I want to make a circle. So some people call these lollies, some people call them little medallions. There's lots of different names for them. But I'm going to just overlap these to continue my pattern, I guess you could say. You just have to remember on designer paper, use a lighter hand than what you're using on your regular cardstock. Okay, I don't think my thing is going to reach, but I have my hot glue, and I'll see if I can pull this over without making a mess. Okay, I have what I call a glue bowl. Is that not a hot mess? So I have an old bowl that I have deemed is my glue bowl. So I use this for my hot glue, and it's a mess. So I just set the glue down in there, the whole container, you know, the gun, down into my bowl when I plug it in. And anything that oozes out stays in the bowl and keeps my desk area clean, which I like. So that's why I did it. So, all right, so I am going to squirt. And of course, I'm right in the middle of needing a new glue stick. So I'm going to squirt a little bit of glue right on my silicone craft sheet. Place this right over the top of it and push that center down right onto that glue. I'm going to hold it just a moment because I want that glue to set enough that it's going to keep this closed. Susan, I had another thought too. When you're scoring, I find, and I know this is an odd thing, but I also find if I'm standing versus sitting, I do a little bit better with not jumping out of the channel. And I think that's just because of the angle I'm at. So you might try that. You may already stand when you do it, but all right, I think that's going to hold. So I'm going to let that sit for just a moment, and we're going to keep building on top of this, and then we'll peel it off because it's wanting to pop up just a bit. So what's going to happen is I'm going to be able to, when this glue cools, just peel this right off the back of there, and I won't need any sort of extra cardstock or anything to hold it in place. All right, so next, where we're letting that cool for just a moment, I have got the Christmas trees dies. I love these, and I cut 2 of these little skinny trees. So I've got the tall, skinny one, and then this little stubby, shorter, fat one. And those were cut with gold foil, or cut out of gold foil, some scraps. So you can make these with some scraps. All right, so I'm going to adhere these. Now, because I don't have a lot of surface area to glue to with the way that this is folded, I'm also going to use hot glue on this. You could use liquid glue, but again, you've got to let it dry. So I'm just going to squirt a little glob. There we go. And I'm just going to lay it. It's hard to hold the glue gun and that at the same time. So I'm just going to lay it right over there and let that kind of adhere in place. And I'm going to take this smaller tree and I'll put a glob just on the bottom section. Again, you can use liquid glue. You just have to be patient with the drying time. And so I'm just tacking that in place right there. I'm not too worried about the bottom of my trees because my sentiment's going to hold that in place. So the one thing that drives me crazy with hot glue is all the hot glue strings, right? All right, so I think this is probably cool enough that I can peel it right off. Look at that. Is that not cool? I think it's super cool. So now that's all held in place. I didn't need extra cardstock. It's fantabulous. Yes? All right. So let's go ahead and we're going to adhere this on to our tag. So you can center it. You can go a little to one side or the other side. I'm going to go ahead and just put a glob of glue wherever I can reach. Am I being excessive on the glue? Probably. I don't really need that much. But when I use hot glue, I like to use enough that it doesn't fall apart. And then we'll just set this down on here. Give that a little bit of pressure. Okay. Make sure I don't have oozing out the back. Nope. Good. Yay. All right. If I can get it to turn a little bit, I might be too late. Yeah, I think I'm too late. All right. Well, it is what it is. I just realized I had my trees a little crooked. And bent that. Okay. There we go. Next, let's do a little stamping. So I've got a scrap of paper. And I'm bringing in the little joy, and we're going to stamp that in real red. So I'm just going to ink that up, stamp that right down. Cute. You could use any Christmas sentiment. I like this stamp a lot, so I like this one. All right, so then we're gonna die cut that with this little bitty label from the Stitch So Sweetly dies. Do you guys have these? I use them a lot more than I ever thought I would. So let's go die cut that. And that gives us our cute little label here. And then we're just gonna glue this right on as well. Now, again, I could use liquid glue, but since my glue gun is hot and ready to go, I'm going to go ahead and just use it. So I'm going to put a generous amount of glue, and I'm doing it on the ends more than the center because I've already got quite a bit of height going on right here with the layers and the glue. So, and you can push it down. It can curve a little bit. You just want it stuck in place really well. So I'm going to hold that for just a moment, letting that glue kind of go where it needs to go. Cute. Do you love it? It's fast and easy, right? Like you could whip out a bunch of these in no time. Use some scraps of ribbon, do them in different colors, use different dyes. You could use punches. So cute, right? And now my holiday packages are going to be super festive. Yay. And I could write names on the back. I could do a to from. Or maybe I write my Sharpie there, right? And tie this onto the package. For me, I typically just put dimensionals if I'm going to use a tag and stick it right to the package that way. So maybe you put another one that's not glued together and you write the name that way. So just kind of a way to jazz it up a little bit. These would also make, if you could make a stack of these, this would make a great like teacher gift or maybe a gift for a coworker. Where you could put a stack of these together for them to use on their packages. Yay, you guys like it? Yay, Jean, Kay, you guys are liking it? Good, good, good. Thank you. And it was a fast and easy one. Since I was long last week, I thought I'd be fast this week. All right, I hope you all have a wonderful, yeah, it looks hard, but it's really not a hard one. Getting the scoring of this lolly and folding it, the first couple times can be a little bit of hateful, you know, getting your hands to push that center in properly. But once you do a couple of them, you'll be good to go and you'll be able to whip them out in no time. Yes? Good, 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 good. I'm glad you guys joined me today. Have a fabulous, fabulous rest of your week. And I will be back to see you next Tuesday. Thanks so much. Bye for now.